Welcome to Rapture Recovery Big Book Step Study Program of Action. This is Section 3. Take a minute to read the doctor's opinion. We are entering into our first part of Step 1. We are going to have some discussion points. It's going to be very important for you to bring your own thoughts and your own experience to find the strength in the work that we're doing. So in the forwards and the preface, we kind of built up some depth and weight to the doctor, so we have some validation in his opinion. This, in early sobriety, was amazing for me to read. It answered all my questions. I never understood that I was an alcoholic, so I did not really understand the disease of alcoholism. I had not made many trips to medical facilities to try to treat my alcoholism. Unfortunately, I had just tried to treat it myself in the environment of my own home, and that greatly affected everyone around me. I came into the program at 39 years old. So when I very first read this doctor's opinion, I wanted to make photocopies of it and give it to everyone I knew that was bothering me about my drinking, because I had made it such a victim situation. Like, I was a victim, but I could not understand why. And in the doctor's opinion, they talk about how important it is for us to be cleared of outside mood alters. So before we take this journey through the 12 steps here and try to find a program of recovery, we need to be honest with what we're dealing with. And it's really hard for us to be accountable for actions that we did while we were mood altered, because we don't understand how we are responsible for the consequences of these actions if we don't understand why we are having the actions. So in your sobriety journey today, it's important to take a hot minute and just think about, are there any other ways that I am mood altering? The answer is probably yes, unfortunately. Alcoholism is progressive. The access that we have to prescription pills and other mood altering substances is really easy, and so we're in a challenging point because they're pretty much telling us that in order for us to be vigorously honest, we have to take an honest appraisal of where we are in our 24 hours today so we can understand where God wants to take us. But it's going to be hard to understand and be honest if we are mood altering with other substances. This can come in many, many different forms or fashions, and we're going to deal with them all in early sobriety. We're going to overshop, we're going to overeat sugar, we're going to overexercise. Anything that we really do, we're going to overdo, because our coping pattern is overdone alcohol. So it only makes sense if we take the alcohol out, we're going to try to replace it with other things that, again, are not having the outcome of possible death, but they're still having some outcomes of not providing an emotional, stable environment. So all this isn't going to be fixed overnight, and the 12 steps we can apply to all areas of our lives. So we're just going to take it one step at a time. We're just going to keep it simple. Our main focus here is on alcoholism, but do be clear that in order to have permanent recovery, we're going to have to do strenuous work, and we're going to have to get vigorously honest with ourselves. So when I very first came in for the first week of my sobriety, I was really unaware of the program and the fellowship or anything. I had never made a pit stop here before. No one had ever encouraged me to come here. So my first thought on that Monday was, okay, now I'm going to need to take a couple more pills to deal with my anxiety, because I'm not going to be able to cope with alcohol. So again, that's kind of where my thought pattern went. By the time I hit Friday of my first week of sobriety, God did for me what I can't do for myself. And someone in the program asked me about my pills. I mean, just out of nowhere, this is God doing for me what I can't do for myself. They just asked me, like, what prescription pills are you on? And I told them, and they said, you need to go to your doctor, tell them that you're in recovery, and they can alter those so you're not taking any highly mood altering drugs that can cause you to mood alter or manipulate those drugs. We really want to hit the source problem, right? And we really want to find a solution of recovery. So we have to get vigorously honest. And I pray that God will do this for you as well. When dealing with doctors and scripts and things of that nature, it is important to get under a physician's care. They constantly tell you, seek outside help when you come into this program. We're here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to stop drinking. We're not actually here to stop the overshopper, stop the overeater, stop the overexercise, or stop the, double pills here and there. We're here for alcoholism. Will you be able to apply these principles in all your affairs? Absolutely yes, if you're rigorously honest with yourself, but you may need some outside help, and that's where I was. So in early recovery, after reading the doctor's opinion, where they're telling me that I'm going to need to get outside help right here in this paragraph, I went and did it, right? I followed the instructions. I didn't fight with anybody at this point. I was at my bottom of all bottoms. I just took the suggestions. Go tell your doctor this. Okay, I called them on the phone and told them. Absolutely. They said, we need to change this, this, and this. And you may want to try to start weaning off of this. And, they really gave me some directions and they really helped me out. So that is a great discussion point for you to talk with other people in the program, the person you may be doing this step study with, a group of people that you may be doing this step study with. This is, if you know any nurses in the fellowship, I would definitely give them a call, ask them about their experience, strength, and hope. If you need resources, I promise you God will bring them to you, whether it's in the rooms or outside of the rooms of this fellowship, but just put that on your prayer list. The next main point of discussion is the phenomenon of craving. So this is the first time that I'm really breaking out alcohol and the phenomenon of craving, the physical act of drinking alcohol and then the mental phenomenon of craving. So, this is where other people in the program started trying to tell me, it's not necessarily that you can't drink 2 drinks, but it's once you drink the 2 drinks, your brain is going to obsess about when you're going to drink the next 2 drinks and the next 2 drinks. And since you're in a disease that's progressive, it is going to get you back where you are at a much quicker rate than it took you to get there in the beginning, because you are in a disease that is mental and it is progressive. So you're going to need to address these things. So all of a sudden I start realizing that I've got on the side of my big book, stinking thinking. The next discussion point, which this is a great one, is restless, irritable, and discontent. Once we remove the alcohol, we are going to need a spiritual substitute because we're restless, we're irritable, and we're discontent. Well, what did we do? Anytime we were restless, irritable, and discontent, we went and drank and drug. So now we're going to have to find another substitute for that. And that's where you call people on the phone, right? You send people text messages. You get honest with yourself. You get honest with your feelings, and you share it with other people. And this is how you grow your program. You don't grow your program by doing award-winning activities. You do your program by sharing your struggles. And when you share a struggle, you're actually providing an avenue of service for someone else in the fellowship. So here what we've done for your action item this week is we are going to literally take an inventory here. So when we're looking to take this inventory, it's very important just do the best you can with what you have. This may change later on the more you start digging deeper into memories and things of that nature. Some of these answers may change, but again, we're going after progress. We're not going after protection. The details don't matter. We're going for a source problem so we can find a source solution. We don't want to get hung up in all the symptoms. So, what was your drink of choice? And again, all of this is going to build off of each other. My drink of choice was wine. Question 2, time of the first drink. So that happened when I was in, 6th or 7th grade, and it was with one of my best friends that lived behind me. We stole vodka from her mom. I remember drinking that vodka. We were on the 2nd floor, and I can remember looking down at the stairs, and it was like a tornado. It was definitely my first mood alter. It didn't automatically catapult into alcoholic drinking. Again, God's doing for me what I can't do for myself, and He's going to show me through answering these questions how alcoholism is progressive, okay? So not everyone shows up to an alcohol journey as an automatic alcoholic. It is progressive. Question 3, consumption. If I'm vigorously honest with myself, I did have some stints of sobriety here and there, but, I still had that stinking thinking. We talked about the restless, irritable, and discontent. But my consumption increased, again, with the progressive disease. So I can manipulate what I drank, when I drank it. But again, because alcoholism is progressive, before I came in here this time, I was at a solid 2 bottles a day. And, a good alcoholic can manipulate and justify that. You can go get a big old wine glass and you can almost fit a half a bottle of wine in one glass. And then so when anybody asks you how many glasses of wine you've had, I've had 4, but it's been all day long, But being vigorously honest, that's a full 2 bottles of alcohol that I was drinking every day of wine. Question 4, when was your last drink? Mine was on August 15th of 2015. I blacked out and I ended up lost in the woods. That story's very dramatic. I'm just dumbing it down because, again, I'm not important, but God is. Question 5, it's time to do a drink inventory. Who did you drink with? Okay, these are probably, you're going to see, we're going to use this information later. So sit for a little bit and figure out who you drank with. I drank with people who were in my environment. Later, I'll figure out that I manipulated those environments. I didn't see that in the beginning, But I drank with my neighborhood mom friends. I had a couple of friends that were my go-to misery loves company. And those were the people that I did the majority of my partaking with. I also drank with my husband. Question 6, past treatment. When I was around 30 years old, I was going through infertility and I started blacking out. Now, I'm not really sure if I blacked out from the infertility drugs. My alcoholic drinking was at an all-time high. I can remember trying to get pregnant and thinking to myself, what's going to happen if I actually get pregnant because I can't stop drinking? So, again, that thought process was there. It took me a long time in sobriety to remember that thought process, but it was there. I went to church and I did hear God tell me, and this is a story for another time, you need to stop drinking. So right then and there, I entered into my first 5 years of sobriety. I did not come into this fellowship, but I did throw myself into a church environment, which was a sober environment. So I did change my people, places, and things. I wasn't drinking alcohol anymore. I was in a sober environment, and I had sober friends. But towards the end of that, the irritable and discontent got crazy. I did relapse, and I relapsed for 4 years. And so when I came into the program, at that point, we were looking at treatment facilities for me that were going to be 90-day treatment programs. So that's kind of my past treatment, a church, and the possibility of me going to treatment centers. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take some genuine time and think about your entire drinking career, right? Again, we're just looking for facts. We're looking for progress, not perfection. Like, can we see like a common theme of alcohol as coping in my life? So mine goes like this. I started with the vodka. Then it was easier for me to get wine coolers through a job that I was working at. Then my disease progressed that I needed vodka more. The wine coolers weren't cutting it and they were too hard to get. So my dad started buying vodka for me. Then I went to college. It was really hard for me to get alcohol there. So I started, pot was very easy, to get. And I did a whole bunch of manipulating to get other people to buy me alcohol. Now, it took me a year and a half to understand that I did that because I was an alcoholic. I just thought this is what people do. But no, people don't go to college to have drinking careers, and that's pretty much what I took away with, what I came away with. I did in college, my third year of college, I had about a year and a half of limited sobriety. God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. I got invited to go to a Christian fellowship on campus, and I got saved there, and I don't know how saved I got, but, I got the good news. And for a year and a half, I kind of entered into my first sober environments of this Christian fellowship, which I never had growing up, right? So that was kind of an experience for me. But once I graduated and got out of that fellowship, my alcoholism took on a whole different head. I mean, it was a whole different thing. I had kind of been sober for a year and a half, and I was off to the races when I graduated from college and started working. I had, again, manipulated that environment without realizing it, that I was going to go into outside sales. I saw myself living at home to kind of give myself some accountability for my sobriety, but then I would find myself just sleeping at different friends' apartments and things of that nature. Didn't understand why I was doing it at that time, but of course, every time we were drinking. My husband and I built a house in a new neighborhood, and this is when things escalated to a much higher level for probably 8 years. It was daily drinking, but it was highly accepted. We, met it. It was like friends, except instead of the Central Perk, we were at a bar. Every night after work, we were in people's houses, and people were just drinking a lot. Then I started getting the blackouts, which made me have the 5 years of sobriety. Then after 5 years of sobriety, which was a total dry drunking experience, but God did use it. I invested a lot in my biblical knowledge, right? Don't know if I ever would have done that. But my husband and I ended up in a cooking class, and they offered us 1 glass of wine. Him and I both agreed that it'd be okay if I had one. And I walked out of there with a case of wine. That's what my alcoholism. When I tell that story in the rooms, people just laugh because they relate. Like, how can you not drink for 5 years, take 1 glass of sparkling wine, and walk out of there with a case of wine with 2 young kids? Like, doesn't make any sense. It's baffling. Where is God in all this? He's showing me that I used alcohol to cope. He's also showing me that I was mimicking other people's behaviors in my life. He's making me realize that alcohol served a coping it was a coping pattern for me. So now I'm going to have to find another coping pattern. So he's showing me when and where I'm going to need to work my program. When was I doing this drinking? I'm going to have to replace that with sobriety activities, right? How was I drinking? I'm going to have to replace that with sobriety activities. My friends, who are you drinking with? You're going to have to replace those with new people in the fellowship, right? God is going to do for me what I can't do for myself. And sitting in this doctor's opinion, understanding that there is a disease, understanding that I have a disease, and understanding that there is a spiritual program of recovery for me is giving me the bottom that I needed. I had to get to this bottom to understand that my disease is baffling, and there is no works that I can do to solve this. I am going to need a spiritual solution to lift me up out of myself, lift me up out of my resentments, teach me how to be a good friend, teach me how to be a good person, teach me how to give without expecting, teach me to sit in a gratitude state of mind. And that is something I had been seeking and never found until I came into this fellowship. Thank you.